This is a full story. Kitten wishes you all a happy and enjoyable story. The woman I'm sharing a rental with is stunningly beautiful. She was taking a shower in the bathroom while I was eating and watching a series in the living room. The only thing between us was a rickety door that couldn't be locked. A shriek pierced through the air as she rushed out of the bathroom, utterly panicked, completely naked. To be honest, I was stunned, frozen in place for 3 seconds. The water heater, it's leaking electricity. Let's not discuss where it's leaking for now. How about you put some clothes on first? I work in social media, just started, and my income barely covers my basic needs. So, when it comes to food, clothing, housing, and transportation, I pinch pennies wherever I can. That's how I ended up in a ridiculously cheap place. An old apartment, 6 floors up, no elevator. The interior? Calling it barren would be insulting to barren spaces, and saying it's dilapidated would be a compliment. Sure, it has the essentials, but they're either unusable or barely functional. Luckily, I'm a guy. I'm not too fussy. A roof over my head to shield me from wind and rain is good enough. Rent is $1,000 a month. 2 bedrooms and a living room. Dirt cheap. Haley also chose this place because it's affordable. Oh, and it's close to her workplace, just a 5-minute walk. But since she moved in, my life has become unbearable. When the agent told me a woman would be moving in to share the place, I wasn't thrilled. We're adults. I've long outgrown the rom-com fantasy of romance blossoming from co-renting. Even novels don't use that cliche anymore. Having a housemate means trouble, no privacy, and lots of random, unnecessary frustrations. So why did I agree in the end? Because of 2 PayPal records. The first was a transfer from the agent, who said from now on, the rent would be split 50-50. He sent me $500. The second was a chat record. He sent me a photo of Haley. Well, she was gorgeous. I tried to resist. Really, I did. But resistance was futile. In that split-second lapse of judgment, I thought, having a beauty around might not be so bad. On her first day here, I decided to be a gentleman and help her with her luggage. Let me help you with your suitcase. Did you wash your hands? My hand, stretched toward the suitcase like a thief's guilty claw reaching for a cop, froze in midair. Moving forward was awkward. Retreating, even worse. Embarrassed, I stepped aside and watched her tiny frame struggle with a massive suitcase, forgetting to introduce myself. Not that she had any intention of introducing herself either. She walked in, frowning the whole time. I knew what was bothering her. The place smelled of decay, a scent that mirrored many unhappy lives. It took me ages to get used to it myself. You have the key, right? I'm heading out, she answered with a nasal, I didn't care much and left. That day, I had dinner with a friend and got home around 10 p.m. Half asleep, I walked into my room and froze. Is this even my room? The floor was spotless. My daily use items were neatly organized, and aside from my bedding, everything had been cleaned and rearranged. I'll admit, having a clean freak female roommate wasn't so bad. I slept like a baby that night. The next morning, when I sat down to work, I realized my drafts were gone. More importantly, my USB drive was missing. That USB was my lifeblood. All my creative ideas from over the years were in it. Haley, did you clean my room yesterday? You're welcome. She was brushing her teeth and mumbled through the phone. That's not what I mean. Did you see some A4 papers on my desk? Threw them out. Damn, I'd never met anyone so self-righteous about messing with someone else's stuff. Why didn't you ask me first before throwing them out? They had all these spooky drawings on them. They scared me. I'm a paranormal content creator. If I don't draw ghosts, what should I draw? She turned, wiping toothpaste foam from her mouth. What do you mean by that? Look, this is a small thing. What's more important is my USB drive. Have you seen it? Nope. But you were the only one in my room yesterday. If you didn't see it, who did? She pushed past me, hurriedly gathering her stuff. I have to go to work. It's just a USB drive. I'll buy you a new one. Lady, it's not about the USB drive. There's over 50 gigabytes of data on it. Pirated files? Pirated your grandma. It's my inspiration. I don't know. I didn't touch it. Don't block my way. Bang! The front door slammed shut, sending a thin layer of dust floating down. Along with the dust, my shattered heart floated away. Around 8 p.m., she came back from work. She tossed me a brand new external hard drive. This one's bigger and harder to lose. That's not the point. I tossed it aside carelessly. We need to talk. Haley threw her bag into her room, sat on the sofa without even taking off her jacket, and tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. Talk. The USB drive. I'll let it go. But letting it go doesn't mean it's unimportant. It's just that complaining won't bring it back. from now on, let's define private and shared spaces. She nodded in agreement. We decided the living room, bathroom, and kitchen were shared spaces. Bedrooms were private. The balcony was her private area since she needed to dry semi-private items like underwear. My room faced the sun, so I could hang my clothes inside. Her room faced the shade, making it hard to dry anything. To make up for it, she agreed to cover the utility bills. After we set the ground rules, she hurried back to her room, sobbing softly. The crying grew louder, and I stood outside her door, scratching my nose. Asterisk, I don't think I bullied her, did I? I barely use utilities, and it's not like I made her pay extra. Asterisk, Saturday morning. I was having a beautiful dream when, bang, my bedroom door flew open. I sat up with a start, staring at Haley's slightly flustered face. Lady, could you knock next time? I did knock. I looked at the dent the doorknob left on the wall, then back at her. Even robbers knock more gently than that. Why didn't you lock the door? Look at this door. Does it look like it has a lock? She waved dismissively, as if doing me a favor. It's fine. I just need to borrow 2 hangers. I forgot to buy them after doing laundry. Help yourself. I curled up under my blanket, embarrassed. I'm not exactly decent right now. Her lips curved into a faint smile, which she quickly hid. Busy with something personal? For some reason, as a 6-foot-tall man, her half-joking remark made me blush furiously. Wow, crayon Shinchan underwear, huh? She grabbed 2 hangers and left, her lips curving up again. Hey, is this the best you can do? Should I gift you a pair? Judging by her slightly awkward footsteps as she left, she wasn't as composed as she tried to appear. Co-living, right? There's always a process of adjustment. I used to think adjustment meant finding each other's boundaries and not crossing them. That was a sign of a good roommate. Not her. She figured out where the boundaries were and kept hopping back and forth across them. For example, she would still barge into my room without warning, or show up in the bathroom while I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, pull down her pants, and sit on the toilet. Then, upon noticing me, she'd let out a scream as piercing as an air raid siren. I'd think to myself, asterisk, what are you screaming for? I'm the one who should be calling the police. Asterisk, she also had zero common sense. Once, she asked me why her laundry wasn't as clean as mine. Turns out, she didn't use detergent, just tossed her clothes into the machine and left it to fate. She insisted on cooking, even though she couldn't, and almost set the apartment on fire. Each time, I'd grumble and scold her as I taught her the basics. The only comfort? She learned quickly. By her second attempt, she already knew not to pour water on an oil fire. This time, she used laundry detergent. How do I know this? Because that day, she was like a possessed demon, muttering repeatedly in the living room. Today's my birthday. Please don't let me work overtime. Today's my birthday. Please don't let me work overtime. I usually sleep well, but even I couldn't tune out her chant like whispers. When I stormed out to tell her off, she had already left for work. Her bedroom door was left ajar. I didn't go in, but from the doorway, I saw a takeout box on her desk, half a steamed bun, a little porridge, and 2 small containers of vegetables. That was her dinner last night. Before I knew it, I was downstairs buying groceries. I timed it perfectly so that by the time she came home from work, 4 dishes and a soup were on the table, along with a small 4-inch cake in the corner. She looked surprised. What's this? Got friends coming over tonight? I untied my apron. No, just figured I'd do something for a silly kid who's having a birthday. Her eyes lit up instantly. Wow, how did you know it's my birthday today? I rolled my eyes. Lady, if you'd spoken any louder this morning, the whole building would have known. She grinned. Good thing I brought wine. Let's have some together. I nodded. Sure, but I don't drink much. Just a little. We finished 3 beers each, and neither of us looked the least bit tipsy. I went downstairs and bought 6 more. After drinking those, I was feeling a little buzzed. I looked her in the eye. Seriously, how much more can you drink? She shyly raised her right index finger. 1 more bottle? I asked. No, I can keep going. As a man, especially a northern man, there's no way I was going to let myself be outdrunk by a woman. I'd said I wasn't a heavy drinker to avoid seeming like I was pressuring her, but since she'd thrown down the gauntlet, I had no choice. I brought up 2 more cases, each with 24 bottles. We ate, drank, lit candles, made wishes, and ate cake. By the end, we were both full and content. You know, she said, you're not much to look at, but you've got a good heart. This is the first time anyone celebrated my birthday since my dad passed away. I nodded. You're a pretty girl with a great figure, but seriously, why'd you have to ruin it by opening your mouth? After 2 more beers each, I asked her a question that had been on my mind. Judging by your background, you must have grown up well off. Why are you renting a place like this? She hesitated, then said, yeah, we had money, but my dad got sick, and all the money went to his treatment. It didn't work. 3 months ago, he passed away, so I came out here to work. In one short sentence, she summed up the harshness of life. I didn't pry further. In such cases, if someone doesn't mention another parent, it's either due to conflict or loss. That night, she didn't go back to her room. She fell asleep on my lap. Occasionally, she'd mumble something in her sleep, but I couldn't make it out. Maybe she was dreaming about her dad, or maybe she mistook me for him. As for me, I didn't sleep at all, not because I had any feelings for her, but because my leg went numb. After that night, we became friends, just regular friends, the kind who can sit on the couch eating snacks and watching TV together. She probably liked my personality. I mostly appreciated her looks. One day, she was showering in the bathroom while I ate in the living room. Between us was just a flimsy, unlockable door. A piercing scream. She bolted out of the bathroom in a panic, stark naked. I froze, staring at her for 3 seconds, completely unable to move. My brain, eyes, and hands didn't know where to go. I wanted to look but didn't dare. If I looked, it felt wrong. If I didn't, it felt disrespectful. Finally, I blurted out, "Trying out streaking now? The water heater. It's leaking electricity. Forget the leak for a moment. How about putting on some clothes?" She changed into a white bathrobe, her damp hair dripping water onto the fabric. The drops unsettled me for some reason. "I've told you so many times, this heater is ancient. It keeps cutting out during showers. You're lucky to be alive." She mumbled something, her face as red as a crab, though I couldn't tell if it was from embarrassment or the shock. "All right, go back to your room. I'll clean up." I tidied the floor and checked the heater with a tester. It was indeed leaking. I texted the landlord. Asterisk, the water heater is leaking electricity. Please replace it. Asterisk. In the meantime, I unplugged it. Thinking about Haley's panicked expression, I couldn't help but feel annoyed. Fine, I'll keep using it for now. If I ever feel like ending it all, I'll just take a shower. The next day, the landlord delivered a brand new water heater. After that hazy, accidental encounter, she was always too shy to talk to me and kept avoiding me. That incident was like a drop of cola falling into a plain glass of water. It seemed to change something, yet nothing seemed to have changed. About 3 months later, I don't know if I ate something bad or what, but my stomach began cramping in waves. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. After a few trips to the bathroom, I felt a bit better and went back to writing and drawing. But things got worse. My body kept feeling cold, and I broke out in a cold sweat. Large drops of sweat fell from my forehead onto the keyboard. I struggled to crawl onto the bed to rest, but it felt like a burning, red-hot iron rod was stirring inside my stomach. The severe pain nearly knocked me out. Breathing became difficult, and I knew I couldn't hold on anymore. I needed to go to the hospital. I wanted to use something in your room. Rocky, are you okay? Haley rushed to my bedside in 2 steps. She touched my face and felt a handful of sweat. At that point, even speaking was hard for me. She quickly put on her coat, ready to take me downstairs. 6th floor. I couldn't believe her petite frame managed to carry me down. Don't carry, just call a cab. Cabs are so expensive. Lady, I'm on the brink of death. After all that struggle, it was probably the middle of the night. She was so stubborn and wouldn't put me down. Just carried me while trying to hail a cab for a long time, but couldn't get one. Should we call 911? Good idea. Do you have your phone with you? She turned to look at me, her lips almost brushing against my face. I gave her a look to let her figure it out herself, and she muttered, "Came down too quickly. Forgot my phone." She thought about carrying me back to the apartment to get the phone, but realized she couldn't manage it. Leaving me on the spot wasn't an option either. There wasn't a car or person around, just dim streetlights casting mocking shadows on our intelligence. Forget it. I'll carry you to the hospital. The nearest hospital was 2 kilometers away. By the time we got there, she collapsed onto a bench in the corridor, drenched in sweat. She hadn't rested for long before she jogged back home to fetch her phone. After all the chaos, by the time I was on at 4 drip and feeling slightly better, it was already dawn. The doctor said you have stomach spasms. It's nothing serious. I nodded. Thanks. You should rest for a while. It's almost time for work. It's fine. I'll take a day off. 2 days later, I was fully recovered. To thank her, I made a big meal. Haley praised my cooking and asked if I could cook for her for the rest of her life. I froze and nodded. She was delighted. Later, I realized I misunderstood her. What she meant by cooking for life really just meant cooking. From then on, she stopped ordering takeout at night and insisted I cook for her. She said it was healthier and more economical. Yeah, healthy for you and and economical for your wallet. Lady, do you know how exhausting cooking is? I grumbled, but every time I thought about her frail frame carrying me to the hospital, I couldn't help but flip the spatula with a bit more vigor. Dinner's ready. Come eat. There was no response from her room. I thought she was busy, waited for over 10 minutes, and called a few times, but still no reply. I went in to check and found her with her head buried in the pillow, sobbing. What's wrong? She didn't say anything. Who bullied you? Still no response. I was getting annoyed. This is pointless. At least tell me something. We're friends, aren't we? She lifted her head from the pillow, her eyes red. My boss is bullying me. It wasn't complicated. Haley didn't usually work overtime and left on time. Understandable. Her emotional intelligence wasn't exactly suited for navigating office culture. On top of that, she'd taken a few days off recently, and her boss had been hinting that she should quit voluntarily. I got her point. Quitting was fine, but she hadn't done anything wrong. She deserved her compensation, right? But companies? They're heartless bastards. Her boss started assigning her the hardest and most annoying tasks. If she couldn't do them well, she'd get berated and gaslit. She was on the verge of breaking down. I patted her back. That's all. She nodded. Leave it to me. Her company mainly dealt with small loans. That day, I dressed up a bit, shaved, and wore my old luxury brand watch. I strode confidently into the lobby. Hello, sir. How can I help you? I'm here for business. Do you have an appointment? No. Call your manager. All right. From a distance, I saw what looked like a dog in a suit walking over. Hello, sir. How can I assist you? I recalled the photo Haley had shown me. Yep, it was him. I'm here for a loan. How much would you like to borrow? 200. Excuse me? The manager hesitated. 200 million? Are you kidding? I'd use my credit card for 200 bucks. Oh, my apologies. I didn't mean that. Do you own property or a business? Yes, I do. Well, 200 million is certainly possible. Any credit issues? No, but I wasn't talking about 200 million. I want 20 billion. What? He wiped the sweat off his forehead. Mr. Rocky, are you serious? I downed the tea on the table in one gulp. Not interested anymore. No. I didn't mean it that way, Mr. Rocky. Please stay. That day, the sleazy manager and I talked about everything. From company business to specific products, from specific products to poetry, from poetry to philosophy. In the end, I didn't even leave him my number. All I left was a cool departing silhouette and the chilly evening breeze. The next day, I went back again. I kept going for a week until he finally realized I was just messing with him. When I showed up again, the security guards wouldn't let me in. One of the benefits of being a content creator is meeting a lot of people. I posted a help request on my social media account, and a wave of righteous individuals eagerly volunteer to help. It's clear that people's resentment toward unscrupulous companies has reached a boiling point. Some even recorded their conversations and sent them to me to use as material. The creativity of netizens never ceases to amaze me. Clever and articulate, I can't help but adore them. Some pretended to take out loans for a wife, a hammer, or even nothing at all. One guy said he had just founded a country and wanted to mortgage it for some pocket money. I chuckled under my blanket as I scrolled through my phone. What's so funny? What's got you laughing like that? I put my phone away. Nothing. Just thinking your boss will probably be handing you some money soon. This kind of situation calls for fighting fire with fire. Even if they called the police, there was nothing illegal about asking about services and leaving if they didn't meet expectations. The company couldn't outright block everyone from entering, as some were legitimate customers. Turning them away would only hurt their business. Some helpers would chat with them for hours. Serious talk at first, ending with a playful twist. Time wasted, manpower consumed. Compared to the cost of termination compensation, how much more would they lose like this? Who are you? What do you want? That manager somehow got my number and went straight to the point. I like that habit, but the teeth-gnashing tone could use some work. If you want to fire someone, fine. Just give the proper compensation and follow the process. Then those people will stop coming. 5 minutes after hanging up, Haley ran into my room. My boss agreed to the compensation. How did you pull it off? Her big, sparkling eyes were filled with joy. With love and persuasion, I replied. I worried the manager might try something underhanded, so I went with her on the day she processed her resignation. When the manager saw me, his face turned green, as did several other employees. They looked ready to tear me apart. I just waved casually, leaving Haley baffled. You know so many people at my company, and you're close with all of them? Very close. Had deep conversations with most of them. Haley took a week off, sleeping in every day and eating meals I cooked. She complained about gaining 6 pounds in just a week. During this time, she truly relaxed, even snoring softly in her sleep. proof of her peace of mind. After the rest came endless rounds of sending resumes, interviews, and waiting for replies. For a fleeting moment, I thought about teaching her how to do content creation. The idea of us both working from home seemed appealing, cozy, and pleasant. I admit my selfishness. Having a stunning beauty at home is a visual treat, a mood lifter. But the suggestion did seem viable. Running your own thing often beats traditional employment. Earnings can be similar, with more freedom, though the lack of insurance is a downside. Still, the potential ceiling is much higher than a regular job. Everything has its pros and cons. Rocky, I found a job. Her voice was piercing over the phone, likely from shouting in excitement. Great, there goes that hope. What job? Where is it? An admin role in the Sifong district. Sifong district. From here, it takes an hour by bus and metro. My throat felt dry, and I coughed instinctively. Well, congratulations. That night, we celebrated with a little drink. After eating, as we admired the moon, I casually brought it up. So, when are you moving? Need help with anything? She tilted her head, looking at me as if she didn't know me. When did I say I was moving out? I just thought since your new job's far, an hour isn't that bad. I chuckled and shook my head. That's not what you said before. You moved last time because 40 minutes was too far. That's because. She mumbled for a while, unable to form a coherent explanation. Emboldened by the alcohol, I draped an arm over her shoulder. Under the gentle moonlight, I said, if anyone bullies you again, come to me. I've got your back. Well, now I have delicious meals to eat. She finally came up with a solid excuse. The moonlight poured down, soft and radiant. Two lonely souls didn't feel so lonely anymore. Oh, you too, living the life, huh? Our landlord walked in, surprised to see Haley and me in pajamas, unkempt, eating together. No, just a simple meal, I replied. I'm sorry to bother you too, but I'm selling this place. The buyer wants it quickly, so I'll need you to move out soon. I'll pay double the penalty as stated in the contract. Is that okay? I froze for a moment, unsure how to respond, and glanced at Haley. Haley, chicken leg in her mouth, chewed thoughtfully before replying, oh. It was hard to tell if she was happy or sad. She quietly went back to her room. The landlord grew anxious at our lack of reaction. What does "oh" mean? It was all by the book. Even if I was reluctant, there wasn't much I could do. Fine, give us 3 days. We'll need time to find a place, right? 3 days is no problem. If nothing else, this was our last meal together in this apartment. Neither of us drank, and the conversation was sporadic, often missing each other's points. I had no idea what was on her mind, and she probably didn't know mine. So, this place is no longer an option. Where are you thinking of going? Probably Sifong district, closer to work. What about you? I stayed silent for a while, taking big bites of overly salty food. Probably the outskirts, or maybe somewhere quiet, less crowded, cheaper and more inspiring. She nodded. Neither of us asked if we should keep living together. The timing was too short, from meeting to now, from initial conflicts to mutual understanding, then supporting each other. It all happened too fast, with barely enough time for anything. If I had 6 more months, I might have gathered the courage to ask her out. Now, bringing it up would only seem presumptuous. I guess she felt the same. How about we find a place together in Sifong district? A shared rental would save some money. I couldn't hold it back. As a guy, I figured my skin was thicker than hers. She froze for a moment, a mouthful of rice stuck midway, neither swallowed nor spit out. My new colleague at work, we just agreed yesterday to. Haha, I was just saying it casually. Sharing with a colleague is better anyway, convenient for commuting. If you insist, I could. No, I was just joking. I interrupted her twice in a row, trying to ease the awkwardness inside. More importantly, I was terrified she'd suggest something wild, like all 3 of us renting together. I'm not sure why. After I brought it up and she showed some hesitation, I felt oddly relieved. Gone was the impulsiveness and resentment from when I first heard the landlord was selling the house. Thinking about it more, sharing a rental does seem inconvenient. Maybe this whole thing was just a dull life tossing me a fleeting subplot. I helped Haley carry her luggage downstairs. She reached out and brushed some dust off my shoulder. Well, safe travels. She hesitated. Should we hug goodbye? For some reason, those 3 words stung. It felt like parting with a comrade in arms or bidding farewell to an old friend. Hug my ass. We both have Facebook. It's not like anyone's dying. No need to get sentimental. She laughed. Fair point. But then, out of nowhere, she lunged into my arms. Thanks for everything during this time. Watching the moving truck carry her away bit by bit, disappearing from my sight. It felt as though the love I had nurtured in my heart had also been quietly snuffed out. I can't remember how she left my arms or how we said our goodbyes. When she hugged me, my mind was blank, consumed by just 4 words: fate is cruel. Later, it dawned on me that I hadn't properly responded to her goodbye, so I waved vigorously at the empty street. Opening Facebook, I stared at her profile picture, hoping she'd send me a message. Nothing came. I clicked into the chat box, wanting to say something, but after a long internal struggle, I couldn't type a single word. From then on, our Facebook conversation froze on September 6th. Perhaps neither of us knew how to break the silence. The next day, I moved out too. A group of close friends came to help, turning the move into a lively affair. By nightfall, after all the chaos, we were exhausted. We ended up at a barbecue joint, downing beer and swapping stories. That familiar atmosphere snapped me back into the real world. The shadow of a petite girl seemed to weigh less on my mind. Hey, Rocky, what happened to that gorgeous girl you were sharing with? She moved out. I shot him a glare. Why bring this up? Why didn't you rent together again? She works in Sifong district. Why would we share a place? She probably found something there. Oh, so you didn't even ask where she moved to? Can you not? Your questions are endless. Clinking glasses drowned out the sorrow in my heart. As the buzz of alcohol mixed with the smoky barbecue, the suppressed feelings felt lighter, if only a bit. Come on, Rocky. We're all brothers here. Be honest. Did you like her? I kicked him under the table. You're already half under the table and still gossiping? Doesn't matter where I end up. Just answer the question. If you do like her, we'll help you out. I like your damn grandpa. My grandpa's taken. He and my grandma are tight. Another friend, less drunk, slung an arm over my shoulder. Forget liking her for a sec. Be real. Do you still wish you could share a place with her? Get lost, I muttered. Why do you all think I'm that desperate for a woman? Then why'd you rent a 2-bedroom place? Those few words cracked something in my mind. Yeah, why did I rent a 2-bedroom? I picked a place after much deliberation. It wasn't cheap, and it's even a bit close to Sifong district. Now that my friend pointed it out, even I couldn't explain it. Maybe, as he said deep down, I was hoping Haley would come back. A 2-bedroom? Spacious. One room to sleep, the other for naps. Life returned to its usual rhythm. But some habits, once formed, are hard to change. For instance, I no longer enjoyed takeout. I preferred cooking, though I always made too much and ended up with leftovers. I became diligent about cleaning, even tidying the unused bedroom. A clean space felt satisfying. Before showering, I'd always poke at the water heater to check for leaks, despite it being brand new and equipped with a safety feature. On rainy days like this, when the downpour seemed to chase itself in a frenzy against the windows, I'd sit by my desk, lost in thought. Was it scarier if there was a ghost under the bed or one outside the door? Caught up in my musings, I bent down to peek under the bed. Shit, it wasn't something scary I found. It was something unexpected. That USB drive, the one Haley had lost. How did this end up here? Pulling out a bunch of clutter from under the bed, I saw it had fallen out of a bag stuffed with off-season clothes. I must have carelessly shoved it there during the move. Twirling the USB drive in my hand, I could almost picture Haley tidying up my place, pinching her nose, wrinkling her brows, tossing my scattered clothes into a bag and shoving it aside. My dad says helping clean someone else's place shows good manners. How old were you when he said that? 8. How old are you now? 23. The memory of our banter made me smile. Damn it, all this eerie atmosphere ruined by a USB drive. Knock, knock. Someone was at the door. The knock quickly escalated to pounding. Opening the door, what can I say? If I weren't a staunch materialist, I might have been scared to death. The woman standing before me was soaked through, her long black hair covering half her face. She looked at me silently, with an air of grievance. Are you dead? Can't you help? I hurriedly took the luggage from her hands and brought the bags inside. Haley, what's going on? Ignoring my question, she walked in, took a quick look around, and struggled to haul her things into the other bedroom. Her seamless movements made me suspect she'd scoped the place out beforehand. These agents are such scammers. Can I just transfer the rent directly to you? Save on the agency fee. I laughed and pulled her into a hug. Welcome to the shared apartment. Your way of welcoming a roommate is pretty special. Go take a shower. Don't catch a cold. Does the water heater here leak electricity? It doesn't. I tested it several several times for you. I took her wet coat and hung it on the rack. By the way, after your shower, let's have dinner together. I made too much today. She rolled her eyes dismissively. Did you cook? Stop using that made too much excuse. It's so overplayed. I've been cooking too much every time lately. Not sure why. Haley sighed, rubbing her stomach. Your cooking is so good. It's gonna make me gain weight. Let me ask you something. How did you even find this place? I asked the agent. We used the same one, remember? Oh, right. He's a decent guy. Not as shady as you said. He really was. If he'd been out for the fee, he wouldn't have just handed Haley my address. I know. I was talking about his complexion. He's literally dark-skinned. I nodded. True. He is pretty dark. The end. If you like Kitten's story, please follow and like it. Updated every morning at 9 a.m.